From the legendary video game developer CD Projekt Red comes the most anticipated and hyped game of the year, Cyberpunk 2077. Immerse yourself in a dystopian high-tech future where body augmentation, cybernetic enhancements and really bad fashion choices have become the norm, which is probably a more suitable environment for this lady. Just saying. A video game based on the cult tabletop game Cyberpunk 2020, featuring a star performance from Keanu Reeves, humanitarian, philanthropist, knockoff superhero and fashion model. Also featuring a slew of cameo appearances from a gaggle of random internet celebrities and streamers, which is vaguely annoying. Boasting fully localised voice acting in 10 different languages, including the most important one, Chinese. Cyberpunk 2077 delivers the player a futuristic sci-fi smorgasbord the likes of which has never been seen before. Action, adventure, flying cars, laser guns, scissor hands, lady bumps, science things, mankinis, Star Trek doors, and future stuff. Prepare yourself for the arrival of the most hyped video game of 2020, the artistic, cultural and creative event of the decade. A game so brilliant it will bring world peace, end all wars and save the environment. Apparently. Welcome to Cyberpunk 2077. Literally the best video game ever made that hasn't been released yet. Like many of you, I am eagerly awaiting the release of the most anticipated video game of 2020, Cyberpunk 2077. Then again, it is 2020 we're talking about. If the game is a bit shit, it will still make the list of top 10 games of the year. Fuck, there have been so few decent games released in 2020 that it's actually becoming possible that The Last of Us 2 might end up winning my top 10 worst games of 2020 list and squeeze in at the bottom in 10th place on my top 10 best games of 2020 list. That is how fucked up the video game industry is right now. I mean, Fall Guys is fine, but it's got fuck all anti-cheat and it's not going to have the player attention of Call of Duty. Call of Duty Modern Warfare is fine, but it's not exactly more than 3% different from the last Call of Duty multiplayer. Ghosts of Tsushima is fine, but it's not exactly different from any of the 39 other games it ripped off. I'm sure Ubisoft will at some point squeeze really hard on the toilet, squeak, and squit out another Assassin's Creed whatever, with paid time savers, loot boxes and duller than dirt grinding game loop, rapey community managers and creeper senior design managers, but we already prepared the memes for that shit show, which I will use on another day. Cyberpunk 2077 is basically Witcher 3 with lasers and Keanu fucking Reeves. It's set in the future, where everything looks like a 90s rave, only there's even more bad fluorescent fashion choices, drugs and crime, and significantly even more body modification going on than you would normally find on a Portland University campus. It's set in a post-cybernetic world, where body augmentation is now the norm. You can mod your body like it's a East European hot rod. You can have robo-dildo hands. You can have built-in spectacles. You can insert USB chips in your face. You can connect your brain to the internet and send emails. All the while, you will be sporting some kind of futuristic sci-fi haircut. You know, like those bad haircuts from the future that you see in 80s movies. Look, as long as I can have 8 tits and 3 dicks, I'll be happy. Well, as long as the game has realistic reflections in mirrors and an in-game photo mode. This is all set against a backdrop of a post-truth society, where corporations battle to control the news and information outlets so they can continuously recraft and manipulate people's knowledge and understanding of the present, the past, and their very perception of reality. It's literally a world where giant mega media corporations can rewrite history on a whim, crafting it to fit their own devious and sinister agenda. Just like Google and YouTube do right now. It's a game. You do stuff. You will collect weapons, earn space monies, buy upgrades, and get new clothes. It's based on a tabletop role-playing game by a cool guy who is probably smarter than you and certainly smarter than his critics. And if CD Projekt Red screw up 90% of this video game adaptation, it will still probably be the best game released by anyone this year, at the very least. And it's got Keanu fucking Reeves in it. Just don't believe all the hype about Keanu Reeves being the nicest guy on the internet. You know that puppy photo shoot he did? Yeah, well, I heard a rumour on the internet that after they'd finished, they euthanised all the puppies because they couldn't get a refund from the pet shop. And Keanu Reeves asked if he could watch.
Alright, we're good.
So without further meandering and prevarication, the top 10 absolute factual facts we factually know about Cyberpunk 2077 so far for a fact, with the possible exception of the stuff I'm going to speculate about, just like everyone else. Number 1. We are going to see an endless flood of low-effort clickbait videos in the build-up to release, just like this one. Everyone will be making clickbait videos with the latest news, even if they have no news. They will discuss some poster in the background. They will verbally explain each detail of the released footage, even though you can clearly see it with your own fucking eyes. They will read out articles from websites. They will read details of new merchandise. If CD Projekt Red releases a teaser trailer, people will make videos about that video. Fuck, people might make videos about the videos about that video. As long as people have an excuse to put Cyberpunk 2077 in the title or Cyberpunk 2077 in the YouTube tags, they won't give a shit how tenuous the justification is. As long as it's got Cyberpunk 2077 in the thumbnail, it will now be hot fucking news. If CD Projekt Red releases a statement that everything is fine and there is nothing to report, people will report on the lack of anything to report, because clickbait. YouTubers will read out stuff they read somewhere else. There will be a fuck ton of videos of people reading out articles that you could have read yourself. Look, just like this one. What's up guys, I'm 21 Kiloton bringing you the hot tips and breaking news on Cyberpunk 2077, so let's get right into this. New Cyberpunk 2077 screenshot shows off the Badlands area. Bang! There you go, YouTube money. Here's another. What's up YouTube? Go ahead and smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. This is 21 Kiloton with the latest news from everyone's favourite game that hasn't been released yet. Cyberpunk 2077's multiplayer microtransactions won't be aggressive. Mum, Why do some words have dots after them and not others? Okay, fair enough. It's a cynical, patronising and low effort way to make a living. But fuck, it only works if people are too fucking lazy to read words with their own eyes and mentally process that in their brains. So yeah, it's potentially a huge market to exploit. Number 2. Everyone will give it a good review. It's the most hyped game of the year. It's from a well-loved studio that trolls the rest of the video game industry. It's a futuristic open-world RPG. Kind of. There is lots of money to be made by making tons of guide videos about it. There is lots of money to be made by giving hand shandies to the fan base. It's got no bullshit microtransactions. That's what they say, but I bet that Cyberpunk Online will be a microtransaction fucking train wreck, and premium currencies will be spewing out of both of its cybernetically enhanced ears. Based on past experience. No, really, the whole of the gaming community will march around like little fucking munchkins singing "Cyberpunk has no microtransactions," and then the multiplayer will come out and it will have a fuck ton of microtransactions. I know, because they have said this repeatedly. But don't worry kids, they won't be aggressive, they will make you want to spend money. Yep, I've heard that shit before many times. Let's just hope the multiplayer lets you grind your own clown outfit without spending real money. At least that way the player community can prepare itself for the protests well in advance. My prediction is that it will be just like Red Dead Redemption 2. Everyone will love the campaign. Everyone will be mortified by the monetization in the online game. You know the drill, grind for 2 weeks to get the in-game currency to buy one fucking shoe, and then someone on Reddit will do the maths and work out that it would take the average human 27 years to grind all the shoes for free. And that's not including the hats, spandex, bodysuits and G-strings. Let's be pragmatic about this. They keep having meetings with the investors, and every time that happens, they make press releases about microtransactions in the multiplayer game. I don't know much about business, but I can spot a basic pattern when it emerges. Talk with investors, talk to the press about microtransactions, rinse and repeat. The investors don't give a fuck. They want more profits. Period. And I don't give a fuck that CD Projekt Red president Adam Kaczynski used the word happy in every other sentence he uttered in that Gaming Bolt article. Every video game publisher wants us to be happy about giving them money. Nothing new there. Of course they want us to be happy about paying them real life money for in-game pixels. That's what microtransactions basically are all about. Putting aside the multiplayer, let's get real. Cyberpunk 2077 is a video game that only has to show up to collect the prize. It's already won the competition. If Cyberpunk installs, some of the buttons work and you can move around without getting stuck too many times, reviewers are going to give it 10 out of 10 reviews after playing it for 5 to 10 hours. Most mainstream shell game reviewers usually only play 5 to 10 hours before writing their reviews anyway. I mean, they already have their review script and a list of key talking points provided to them by the PR department. They only need to actually play the game to capture some original footage for the review, so it doesn't look like they phoned in the video, which most of them will. This game only needs to be 5% as good as Witcher 3, and it's going to be street parties, tequila body shots all round, and CD Projekt Red developers will be snorting coke off hookers' tits for a week. Or man boobs. I'm not sexist. The point I'm trying to make is this. The game has so much hype, so much media coverage, so much potential for big views and revenue, so many fanatical supporters already in place, primed to defend this game, that Cyberpunk 2077 would have to literally cause permanent blindness in the user, hack your bank account, and then set your gaming rig on fire and burn your fucking house down before any self-interested reviewer would give it a bad review. Even then, they would probably give it a 7 out of 10. Because, you know, 7 out of 10 is the new average score, according to the gatekeepers over on Reset Era. Cyberpunk 2077, 7 out of 10. May cause permanent blindness, homelessness, poverty, and death. Anyway, how can you not give Cyberpunk 2077 a great review? It's got Keanu fucking Reeves in it. That really nice actor guy who sat down and had a drink with that homeless fella. Although nobody reported on the fact that shortly after that photo was taken, Keanu punched him in the mouth and stole his little tramp trolley. Number 3. YouTubers will analyse and speculate about every tiny detail they see. Got no new information? Got no insider source? Not got a fucking clue what's going on? Don't let that stop you from making a Cyberpunk 2077 hot news video. If you've got zero news, make some news. Just pull it out of your arse by speculating about something. They will speculate about theories based on speculations. They will speculate about the speculations for as long as it takes to make an 11-minute video and get that ad revenue rolling in. Pick an issue, any issue, pose questions about it, make a range of possible answers, get fucking paid.
Winning. It's how you perceive it.
People will make videos about every single detail of this fucking game, however boring or irrelevant. That sign, someone will make a video about that. That cup, the contents of that bin, that poster with a lady schlong. Oh yeah, they edited that out to appease the professionally offended. Why, that girl's hair is different from that girl's hair. Is that girl really a girl? Look, we ain't Bob Woodward and Carl fucking Bernstein. This is the internet. Who needs news, facts and credible sources when all you really need is speculation? Fuck, it's actually easier to pad out a video with speculation because you don't have to actually look anything up. And let's be honest, people will watch it anyway. There's not much else interesting going on game-wise right now. Number 4. Kotaku, Polygon, Reset Era and the rest of the industry political gatekeepers will pick holes in every single aspect of the game they possibly can. Subject to closures, of course. The political gatekeepers of the mainstream hack journalism cartel will claim that Cyberpunk 2077 is racist, sexist, misogynistic, patriarchal, yawn yawn, fucking yawn. They've probably already written their gripe articles and have them saved on their desktops, between the folder full of dirt they keep on their friends and screenshots of their fellow journalists' drunken DMs. You know, all that shit they'll use to cancel each other at some point in the future. They just need to play the game for a couple of hours to learn the basic characters and story, insert some NPC character names in the article and quest titles into their copy-pasta gripe, and press send to editor. Tummy rubs and wheatgrass enemas on the management for the rest of the week. Despite this game allowing you to play as male, female or whatever the fuck you want in the middle, the professionally offended are already working on lists of talking points about which they plan to be offended. The tits are too big, the tits are too small, the fact you can choose the size of the tits is objectification, the game is sexist, and if it isn't, then it is sexist anyway because it whitewashes sexism and fails to address it. Whatever the fuck this game does, it will be attacked by the cream puffs on Reset Era and the rest of the woke gaming community because that is why they exist. They exist to totally service their own careers and political agenda at the expense of gamers, not for their benefit. Oh yeah, and the fact that the entire industry of mainstream gaming so-called news journalism is bankrolled by AAA publishers, and all of those guys want Cyberpunk to fail, so the professional media will protect the honeypot and attack the game the very second Bobby Kotick and Andrew Wilson shout, "Cry havoc and let slip the cream puff poodles of war." Number 5. Cyberpunk 2077 will do record sales. So why will this game be guaranteed to sell large? It's probably semi-decent and made by the people that did Witcher 3, winner of the 2020 Video Game Award for Game You Are Most Sick of Hearing People Bang On About Forever, and the 2019 Yeah It Was a Great Game But For Fuck's Sake Shut Up About It Now award. Cyberpunk 2077 also doesn't really have much serious competition. Ubisoft is too busy puking out 3 reskins of Assassin's Creed every year. Anthrax Vision is too busy asset stripping the company, sacking all the developers and letting Bobby Kotick steal all the cash. EA is too busy being sued or investigated for gambling mechanics in video games, while sharting out the odd FIFA and Madden game. Cyberpunk 2077 launches in the middle of the second wave of the worst pandemic in 100 years, when half the planet will be locked down in their homes, and it's the important half of the planet when it comes to video game sales. Because the other half, that isn't locked down, don't have homes, couldn't afford to take time off work anyway, and certainly can't afford to play video games. Look, most normal people hate their families. They hate their wives, husbands, girlfriends, boyfriends, kids, parents, siblings, cousins, elderly aunt. They even hate their frail elderly grandparent that is shielding with them. Science fact. Most of the time, people can pretend not to hate their families because they're only in the same building for half the day, and for 8 hours of that they're fucking sleeping, eating or wanking. But now, because of the pandemic, they're locked up together 24 hours a day. They are gagging for an excuse to disappear off into another room and escape to a fantasy sci-fi universe set 57 years in the future, where the world has turned into a chaotic, dystopian, violent shithole. Because that world is still better than being locked up in an apartment with your farting husband/granny or your habitually masturbating teenage brother. Or sister. If you can't do record sales during a fucking pandemic lockdown, then frankly, you shouldn't be making video games at all. Jesus, what a bunch of fucking losers. I guess that's why they're focusing on mobile apps. Number 6. The mainstream video game industry hates this game. The mainstream gaming industry hates Cyberpunk 2077. It's a game with a set price and no microtransactions in the single player campaign. Of course they hate it. It's a brilliant, original and refreshing idea, and they're not trying to rip you off. EA, Ubisoft and Activision haven't managed to pull that one off in over a decade. Needless to say, every mainstream video game news outlet that gets a big advertising spend from all the AAA publishers will do their absolute best to take a sly shit on this game, whilst trying not to antagonise the vast fanbase that it will gain from being one of the few AAA games released this year which is not a half-arsed reskin packed full of microtransactions and loot boxes. All the mainstream shill media will say shit like, sure, it's a great game, but the treatment of ethnicity is tacitly racist. It has many strengths, but supports the patriarchy. Cyberpunk is a good game, but totally fails to address real-world issues like Trump, gun control, and racism. Cyberpunk is a good game, but totally fails to address the suffering of Myanmar refugees, the paradoxes of quantum mechanics and classical physics, and why you can only get your John Deere tractor repaired at a licensed dealer, and being guilty of not addressing a whole load of other shite that has nothing to do with this game. Cyberpunk is a great game, but let's not forget crunch and how the developers were worked into the ground for years. Okay, I'll give them that last one because it's basically true. But you know, great projects require great sacrifice. The pyramids were not built by labour unions, overtime pay and long lazy lunch breaks. They were built by 18-hour workdays, whipping people and fucking slaves. Lots and lots of slaves. And slaves is probably what CD Projekt Red developers feel like at the moment. This is all a very simple equation. Mainstream gaming media is fueled by advertising revenue from the big AAA publishers. Everything else they do for the little guys is just for show. It's fluff, frills, there to create the illusion of legitimacy. AAA publishers pay the bills of the mainstream video game journalism industry. AAA publishers hate Cyberpunk 2077 because it certainly looks like it's going to be a good video game with no bullshit, no microtransactions, no loot boxes and no monetization yet, and it's going to win, highlighting the fact that most AAA games must be shit if they can't make profits without all the bullshit. They hate Cyberpunk 2077, so mainstream gaming media will be told to hate it too. The only question here is how much wrath are they prepared to face from Cyberpunk 2077 fans? Because of all of this, we will see lots of mainstream media making but videos and but articles. Cyberpunk is a good game, but X or Y. Despite the fact that it's got that awfully nice fella, Keanu fucking Reeves, in the game. You know, the guy who gave up his seat for that lady on the subway. Chauvinist bastard. Number 7. Cyberpunk 2077 introduces a revolutionary life path system which makes the player experience unique. Kind of. Cyberpunk 2077 has a revolutionary new system that's been used in lots of other games for decades. You get to choose your starting faction. Life path. And this means you have a very slightly different game experience. So quite why so many people are figuratively and occasionally literally jizzing in their pants is beyond me. Interesting? Yeah. Noteworthy? Kind of. Worth getting excited about? Not so much. You get to choose from the following factions: Nomad, Redneck, Street Kid, Thief, or Corpo, Rich Kid Corporate Fuckbag. Each life path offers different outcomes, quests and abilities, just like in real life. Although if it was like real life, if you choose the life path of Nomad or Street Kid, you would most likely be condemned to a life of poverty and low-level crime, and if you were born into a life of wealthy corporate privilege, you would be almost guaranteed healthcare, riches, comfort and virtual immunity from police prosecution. I mean, thousands of corpos were involved with embezzling state taxes and stealing pension funds, and only a couple of people went to jail. But this Street Kid stole a bottle of 40 from a liquor store, and him, his girlfriend, and the 2 idiots in the car all went to prison for aggravated robbery. Let's hope the game isn't based on real life, or everyone will be choosing Corpo. I know for a fact that I will be choosing Nomad for my first playthrough for obvious reasons. They are rednecks. They are uncivilised. They will no doubt have decent shotguns. And let's face it, it's the best chance I'm going to have of finding fucking banjo music in this game. Number 8. Cyberpunk 2077 has groundbreaking non-binary character customization, and this has absolutely nothing to do with caving into the Outrage Brigade. Do you enjoy playing dress-up Barbie with your video game character? Do you obsess about your character constantly because looking cool is far more important than actually being able to play worth a shit? Do you never work up the guts to talk this through with your psychotherapist and just bitched and moaned about your shitty relationship with your parents? Well, Cyberpunk 2077 has the answer for you. Play your cards right and you can buy a new weaponised penis, or even have some breast cannons installed. Or removed. Well, something along those lines. Cyberpunk 2077 is a game that is all about augmentation. The body is no longer sacred, and humanity has evolved to augment it, improve it, or just damn right weaponise it. So hopefully there'll be a fucking ton of nudity. In Cyberpunk 2077 you will not get to choose a gender. Instead you will have full non-binary character creation options where you can decide individually what your character is like. Want to be a skinny hot girl with a deep booming voice? They can do that. Want to be a 250-pound Goliath muscle man with the voice of a squeaker? They got that covered. And you can be anything in between. Personally, I want my character to have 8 tits and 3 dicks, so as long as they manage to sort that shit out, I'll be happy at least. Although I am curious what the pronoun would be for that. Tricoles? I guess all my right-on critics can refer to me as that from now on. Obviously, CD Projekt Red did not do this whole ungendering of the game to avoid a huge media backlash from the industry political gatekeepers. You know, like when they lost their shit over that poster with the hottie with the dick in her pants. CD Projekt Red did it out of love, consideration and a sense of moral duty. Nothing to do with sales and marketing. They absolutely did not make the character creation entirely gender neutral because it was blindingly fucking obvious that the professionally offended wheatgrass enumeric stoling activist journos were clearly and self-evidently poring over every screenshot and line of dialogue in the trailers to find anything at all that they could pretend to be offended by and exploit to manufacture outrage and bad press. Absolutely not. CD Projekt Red totally did not do any of this gender neutral stuff just because they were being stalked around the internet by a bunch of blue-haired journo-hangry activists. I'm a big fan of gender neutral language. I'm not yet on board with the whole thing of using someone's preferred pronoun, but I like to think that in my own small humble way, that by not using gendered language when talking to people, I'm doing my own little bit to create a better, more considerate and kinder world. This is why I refer to everyone by the pronoun fuckface. Number 9. There is a 100% probability that the game will have a cameo appearance in it by someone that pisses you off. I will qualify right now. I am not passing judgment on any of the people doing cameo appearances in this game, and I don't want anyone to dishonestly misconstrue what I am about to say as criticism of any of the YouTubers, streamers or media personalities that will be appearing as non-player characters in the game, even though some of them are complete cocks. All I'm saying is that the chances of there not being at least one person in the game who will make you puke a little bit in the back of your throat and spoil the gaming experience for you is fast approaching zero. With nearly every high-profile, mainstream, industry-friendly, inoffensive corporate streamer getting a cameo in the game, along with a bunch of other celeb randos, it might turn into a slightly grating experience when you get a quest given to you by someone who you find incredibly annoying in real life. Then again, perhaps if they're non-essential NPCs, you will at least be able to shoot them in the fucking head. Like that annoying cow Marcy in Fallout 4, so I guess some clouds might have a silver lining. Co-Carnage, Jesse Cox, Grimes, I think Alexel Capo has a cameo too, but sadly I couldn't understand what he was saying. I only speak 2 languages fluently, English and shouting. Z, a UK resident but nevertheless one of the most popular streamers in the People's Republic of China, was due to do a cameo, but decided to withdraw because of a huge online backlash from her fans. Strange that now Cyberpunk 2077 has topped the Steam pre-order charts in mainland China, all of a sudden there seem to be quite a lot of online shitstorms spontaneously erupting on the internet, originating from Chinese spheres of influence. Someone vastly more paranoid than me might be forgiven for suspecting the involvement of the disapproving Chinese government. Strange that even CD Projekt Red's director of PR and marketing in the region, Darren Ding, apparently deleted his online post about the success of the pre-order figures in China. I'll let you all be the judge of what's going on there. Oh look, VG247 did an article about it, where they stoically only spelled her name in Chinese. How pretentious is that? Apparently, not speaking Mandarin is ignorance now. There's no need to push the point, fellas. If the People's Republic of China successfully invade the South China Seas, it'll only be a matter of time before we all speak fucking Mandarin. Seriously, I get the idea from a marketing perspective. Get famous people to appear in your game because it raises its profile. But if you get every single fucking famous person in your game, eventually you'll reach annoyance, critical mass. Put any cameo in your game and there is a small percentage chance that you will piss some people off. You have to balance the piss off penalty with the promotional bonus. So therefore, according to the mathematics I prepared in 21 kilotons fucking science lab, it naturally follows that every time you add a new cameo, the chance of pissing people off rises slightly. Eventually, you will get diminishing returns because you won't necessarily keep attracting any more players, but you will be ensuring that you will inevitably get cameos from enough randos that any player will be pissed off by at least one of them. And I believe they're close to reaching that critical mass now. There is still some time to go and some expected DLC content. I mean, where's it going to end? Are they going to have cameos from Philip DeFranco, Jake Paul, H3H3, Miranda Sings, DSP, and Pokimane? Yeah, that should take the annoyance factor to critical fucking mass and trigger a chain reaction. Okay, if I'm being completely honest, I think it would be a fucking disgrace if DSP does not get a cameo. Hashtag DSP Cyberpunk cameo. You have your mission, should you choose to accept it. Whilst I concede that I think it's a good business decision that Keanu Reeves, who missed out on being Wolverine, at least got a part in this game, but it would sadly appear that everyone else in the entertainment industry, and especially the video game industry, is going to get a cameo too. And not even Keanu Reeves is a powerful enough influence to quell the possible cascade effect of annoyance that the multitude of cameos are going to cause the player. And besides, if internet heartthrob Keanu fucking Reeves was that much of a nice guy, you would be able to romance his NPC in game. But oh no, they decided you won't be able to do that. Possibly because they realised exactly the kind of video clips people like me would start making. Number 10. A merchandising drive, the likes of which humanity has never witnessed before, is currently underway. If you can sell it, they will print Cyberpunk 2077 on it, and sell it at a higher price. The merchandising for Cyberpunk 2077 is already a branding fucking juggernaut, screaming down the road at breakneck speed, and it ain't gonna stop at the pedestrian crossing outside the kindergarten or the old people's retirement home. Wherever something comes in a packet or has a few spare inches of visual real estate to slap a logo on it, CD Projekt Red has been at work, slapping that fucking logo right on the thing. They're like a horde of coked up fly-posting maniacs, sweeping across the landscape like a swarm of fucking rebranding locusts. I shit you not, by the time this game launches, I doubt you will be able to stand anywhere on the planet without seeing a Cyberpunk 2077 logo. You know how you can travel to the remotest village in the world, and some kid is always standing there wearing a Coke t-shirt? It's gonna be like that shit. T-shirts, baseball hats, displate, coffee cups, watches, jackets, Nvidia graphics cards, Funko Pops, gaming chairs, Cyberpunk 2077 Monopoly, drinks. Is that a drink? I think it's a drink. Adderall, dog food, condoms, adult fucking nappies for hardcore gamers who don't even want to stop playing Cyberpunk 2077 to use the toilet. What the actual fuck? This shit is getting out of hand now. I like to wear an Akira t-shirt as much as the next weeb. But Cyberpunk 2077 fucking wallpaper, I mean literal wallpaper, is fucking ridiculous. There are even rumours that CD Projekt Red are in negotiation with the governor of Texas to sponsor the execution of a falsely convicted serial killer to coincide with the launch. So stay tuned for more top tier Cyberpunk 2077 content in the build up to the game's release. And top tier right now obviously means low effort, speculative, irrelevant, or just plain repeating shit that somebody else said already. But dear Lord, I really hope you like Cyberpunk 2077, because otherwise you are going to be very, very bored of hearing about it long before the game launches on the 16th of April 2020. I mean the 17th of September 2020. Or the 19th of November 2020. Probably. But for now, good luck and happy hunting.